Marquis de Lafayette took a stand against tyranny by not only fighting in the American Revolutionary War, but also by risking his nobleman's status and disobeying his family, friends, and the entire country of France. Marie-Joseph Paul Yves Roche Gilbert du Motier, Marquis de Lafayette, a French nobleman, begged his father-in-law and the King of France to let him fight in the American Revolutionary War. The king, not wanting anyone of French importance to fight yet, denied permission. His father-in-law, obedient to the King of France, also denied permission. That's when Lafayette began to plan his escape. Along with Baron Johann Kalb, he planned on fleeing France on La Victoire, a ship. Lafayette was aware of the risks he was taking when he left, leaving his wife and losing the trust and respect from his father-in-law, the only parent figure he had. He knew there was a risk of not returning, but he was willing to take it to stand against tyranny. During the voyage on La Victoire, Lafayette wrote to Adrian. He expressed how guilty he was for leaving. He wrote, "How do you deal with my departure? Do you love me less for it?" He also wrote, "If you no longer loved me, I would be utterly miserable." This proved that he did care about Adrian, and he was worried what the result of his departure would be. He also shared his excitement. "It is in that city I will disembark. What a great pleasure it will be." The city he was talking about is Charleston. He was excited to take a stand and fight. Adrian, a young teenager, held her head high when her husband left. While her father cursed out Lafayette, she hid her tears and supported him. During the entire time he was in America, she remained loyal to him and awaited his return. She had complete trust in his actions and ideas. He and Kalb landed in South Carolina on June 15, 1777. Kalb was a former butler who became a soldier through sheer merit. Together, they traveled on horseback to Philadelphia and arrived on July 22, 1777. Originally, Lafayette and the average patriot would get along well. Americans liked that Lafayette was in the war for his pure enthusiasm, unlike other Frenchmen who were there for better lives. Lafayette's enthusiasm was proved by him learning the English language quickly and respecting the ambition of the new nation. A few months after arriving in Philadelphia, Lafayette was assigned a general in his first battle. Washington knew he had potential, even though he didn't have any prior war experience. On September 11, 1777, the Battle of Brandywine took place. Lafayette led well even though they lost the battle. It was foggy, so the British could easily sneak attack. However, Lafayette still managed to retreat his men. During the rush, the Marquis did not even realize that he got shot in the calf until he felt blood dripping down his leg. Washington came rushing by his side and got only the best medic to treat Lafayette. George told the medic, "Treat him as if he were my son." A bond stronger than friendship formed between them. A man in his 40s who never had a son, and a teenager who never had a father. Many historians see George Washington as a second father to Lafayette, especially because the only previous father figure he had was his father-in-law, who never took a specific liking to him. Lafayette's father died while he was a child, and his mother abandoned him out of grief. The American army was definitely the underdog. By looking at an engraving made during winter at Valley Forge, several inferences can be made. The weather was most likely unenjoyable. The snow and scarves show it was cold, while the billowing clothes show the strong wind. The open-toed shoes in the cold showed that the army probably didn't have a lot of money, and the numerous soldiers huddled around a saucepan shows they're most likely hungry. Lafayette faced many risks, not just of death at war, but of his family back home. Lafayette didn't know if his baby was a boy or a girl, or if it was alive or dead. He would try to write letters to Adrian, his wife, but he had to limit his writings because he was afraid the king might intercept them. One of the letters he did send to Adrian contained these paragraphs. "Everyone has been encouraging me to leave. Honor has told me to stay." This excerpt proves that Lafayette had to disobey his friends and family. "At the present time, my presence is more necessary to the American cause than you would imagine." This sentence proves that Lafayette knew he was making history and that he was an important part of it. The next two quotes show that the Marquis misses his friends and family and that he risked losing them. I beg you, dear heart, when you write to me, do give me news from all those I love and the whole society. He also said, several generals are having their wives come to camp. I'm really envious, not of their wives, but of their happiness to be able to see them. Lafayette's marriage to Adrian was arranged, however they grew to love each other. After Brandywine, Lafayette fought in a series of spaced-out battles. First came the Battle of Barren Hill, then Monmouth. The Battle of Barren Hill took place on May 20, 1778. Technically, the British won since the Americans retreated. The Battle of Monmouth took place on June 28, 1778. There is historical debate on who won Monmouth, the British or the Americans. The Americans claim they won because they got the field. The British say they won because they safely fled to New York. Lafayette asked for a short leave to go back to France. George Washington granted permission, and the Marquis set out on his voyage. He arrived in France in February 1779, and the king briefly arrested him for disobedience. Once his time was up, he worked with Benjamin Franklin to get more troops and supplies. Eventually, General Rochambeau authorized 6,000 men to help the American Revolution. Lafayette sent a letter to his good friend Alexander Hamilton while in France. Lafayette felt quite resented because none of his friends in America had contacted him yet. He said, I cannot help being somewhat angry against you. He also wrote, not a word from any fellow soldier of mine in all the army. This proves that no one contacted him during his 3-year leave. At the end of the letter, he said, is it not too much? Meaning, is it really that hard to write to me? In 1781, Lafayette returned to America just in time to fight in the Siege of Yorktown, the battle that ended the American Revolution. Lafayette's stand against tyranny helped America in multiple ways. Not only did it temporarily create a bond between France and America, but it also helped shape America. Every modern-day American's life would be different if Lafayette never took the stand that he did. After the war, Lafayette returned to France. Lafayette gained many ranks and titles for the next decade. He got appointed as a member of the Assembly of Notables and made suggestions on the financial crisis in 1787. He was named commander of the Paris National Guard and given the title Hero of Two Worlds. During the French Revolution in 1792, Lafayette and the monarchy got attacked. With the French enemies in power, Lafayette and Adrian got arrested. A few years later, they both got released and reunited with their children. Adrian died on December 24, 1807, when she was 48 years old. Lafayette managed to move on after her death and continued to gain ranks and titles until his death on May 20, 1834. He died at the age of 76. King Louis Philippe had to order a military funeral so the public wouldn't overcrowd the cemetery. There were many protests on that order, but Lafayette still had a peaceful funeral buried next to his wife.